So application of square roots. I already went ahead and drew or wrote this table. So it says depth of the ocean is 9, 25, 49, 81, 121, and then D. I'll talk about that D in just a second. And then it says speed of a wave. So depth, we know the depth of the ocean, and then we're trying to decide the speed of a wave. What it's talking about is whenever you, like scientists, are trying to decide when a tsunami is going to hit. Um, you remember a tsunami is just a really large wave that's created by like shifts in the plates underneath the ocean. So the speed of the wave definitely depends on the depth of the ocean at that point. So they're called buoys. If you don't know what a buoy is, you can look it up. But a buoy is just something that floats in the ocean and it detects like it detects the waves, and then they have stuff on the bottom of the ocean that detects if it feel like the movement of the plates. So if so when the plates move, the buoys send information to satellites, and then we get the information, and that's how people get warned of tsunamis. Um, so it's also just a table of values. So it gave us the equation S equals 3.1 the square root of D, where S is the speed and D is the depth of the ocean. So it says find the depth when the speed is 112. So if I plug in 112, and I need to plug it in for the speed and then find the depth. So 112 is my speed, so I'm going to do 112 equals 3.1 square root of D. Now, if you look at that, since it's 3.1 times the square root of D, we cannot square both sides again until this is the square root's completely isolated. So we need to divide by 3.1 because the opposite of multiply is divide, and then divide 112 by 3.1. So 112 divided by 3.1 is 36.13 equals the square root of D. Well, if you look at this, the square root of D, the inverse of the square root of something is squaring it. So I'm going to square this side. So it would be 36.13 squared, which is 1305.38 equals the depth. So our depth of the ocean that created this speed would be 1,305.38. If you look at this table, notice this is 9, 15, 21, 27, 34, and it went from 9 to 121. That's a big difference in depth, but if you notice, the speed is not that different. And then if you look at how much it jumps from 34 to 112, that has to be a huge jump here. So that makes sense. You wouldn't want something that was like 90 or you knew you did something wrong. So that distance would work. Or that depth, not distance, I'm sorry. All right, here's another one. It says find the speed when the depth is 64. So find the speed when the depth is 64 meters. So speed is what I'm looking for. 64 is the depth, so I'm going to plug it in right there. So S equals 3.1 square root of 64. So then it would be 3.1 times the square root of 64, which is 24.8. So the speed would be 24.8. And if I look at a speed of 64, well, that's between 49 and 81. So I need something between 21 and 27. Well, that makes sense. So that is our speed. Okay. The last thing that we need to do that you will see, or that we need to cover, is when I give you a formula that has more than one variable. So this is called isolating the variable. So isolate the variable. So if I have the equation y equals 2 pi, and then the square root of x divided by 100a. And then if I asked you to solve for a, so if I said to solve for a, so I'm going to solve for this right here. In order to do that, and I probably did not leave myself enough room, but in order to do that, I need to isolate this variable, or isolate the square root first. So I need to get this by itself. So the first thing I need to do, since it's 2 pi times the square root, I need to go ahead and divide by 2 pi, and divide by 2 pi. That would cancel, that would cancel. So then it would be y divided by 2 pi equals the square root of x divided by 100a. Okay? Now we're still trying to get that a by itself. In order to do that, we need to square both sides, because the opposite of square root is squared, so that those would cancel, and then square that. And I'm going to move right over here. So then it would be y times 2 pi squared equals x divided by 100a. So the next thing I need to do is I need to, since we don't really know how to work with variables on the bottom yet, I need to multiply by 100a. That way it cancels. And then multiply this side by 100a. So then it would be 100a times y divided by 2 pi squared equals x. Well, if we were solving for x at this point, I would be done. But we're not solving for x, we're solving for a. So I need to divide by 100 and divide by y divided by 2 pi squared. And then divide 100 and y divided by 2 pi squared. So it would be a equals x divided by 100, y 2 pi squared. Now, when you look at these, or when you have any of these problems on a test, on a standardized test, on any test, you're always going to have it. 99% of the time it's going to be multiple choice. So you'd be able to just look and see which one makes sense. So it would be x divided by this stuff, because 100a was on bottom. So we had to multiply by 100a, multiply by 100a, and then divide that stuff off. You could do it a little bit differently, but in my opinion, that's the easiest way to do it. So then you would have a equals x divided by 100, and then y divided by 2 pi squared.